Welcome to program Pulse and Dance. I'm Valentina Kozlova, founder of VKDF and VKIBC. And let's get started. Dance police. What is this? Dance
Right.
police.
So we had the real dance police in the Giuliani administration fining and ticketing venues for illegal dancing. We wanted to keep a hook to this history and remind people in a subtle way, because we're celebrating, we're presenting. And we wanted to find a fun way to keep the history and have people ask, what are these people in your parade with the word dance police? And they have a badge, and on the badge are these dancers, hip hop and ballet and swing. And you have a hat that says NYDP, the same font as the NYPD, but it's you just your mind goes,
Yeah.
oh, it's the police, and it says dance police on the back. But we don't ticket you for dancing, we ticket you for not dancing. And so it says a no movement violation, or poor rhythm, or free dancing in a no movement in a free dance zone. Something funny, and then you have to go to court, and the officer gives you that, and on the court it says on the back side is a discount to the after party, or a free ticket to a dance class, or something like that.
My goodness, how did you come up with this idea?
I don't remember. It was 20 years ago, and at the time they had a lot of theatrical ways of protesting. So they had the same group I worked with to do the dance marathon. They created a jail, a moving jail that would suck in dancers from the parade, and the dancers would have disco balls chained to their legs. And so they were very creative. So someone along the line said, let's have dance police. And we still do. Every year we make the tickets, we make the uniforms. Some people don't like to see the word police. They feel, oh no, not at this event. But it's a joke, and it carries the history, and we still need it because the advocacy continues. And we have a website called legalizedance.org to see the whole history, to see the press and the media attention. And it's everything from PBS to the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times have done several pieces, and it always says, like, what do you mean you can't dance in New York City without a license?
That is so impressive. So
Yeah.
people who are dance police, where do you get them? Actually, from police?
We've had the police
question.
involved. The police are great, actually, because they're getting overtime and they love to, see a joyful event. And they actually provided some comfort buses for the older adults. When they get tired, they can go in the bus and be driven along. But mostly it's anyone. You can be, I'll send you a dance police hat and a shirt. And yes, a whistle. You have to have a whistle.
Okay, I never whistle, but yeah,
You're
this
being
is great.
recruited.
So tell me, like, very serious question that, as you know, many artists, for example, they like to create something or start something. And the question comes, the structure of business and fundraising. Any tips on that?
Fundraising is hard, so it all depends on exactly what area, I think. But I imagine it's in your mind, it's a choreographer who has their own dance company and they're starting out. I would say develop a board that is not your friends, a board that is passionate about your work, and then go to see other works in your field and talk about what you do and appreciate others. So I think that's important. And then grant writing is often misunderstood. It is a necessary thing for developed dance companies, I think, to actually identify what private foundations and government agencies can support you. So I had someone recently, yesterday I had a conversation with a new, it was a performing arts organization in the Bronx, I think in the poorest zip code of New York City. And they were asking about how can we grow? And I told them, speak to your city council member, because there's 51 council members in New York City, and they have actually discretionary funding, but they have to get to know you. And then the Bronx Council for the Arts, there's different re-granting organizations. And then you know, once you can be seen as, okay, people can trust me because I get this this agency to support, then other agencies will follow. So I would start with a board and, you know, also developing what your work means to you. You know, a mission statement and ways to make your work special, and then start writing some grants and talking to council members.
Yeah, grants is because I had my company at the time, Daring Project, and Audrey was our PR, and so what we did, we had a choreographer or choreographers and creating new works for people who already were principal dancers in other big companies such as ABC, City Ballet, National Ballet of Canada, Joffrey. And the thing is that when you work in a big company is that sometimes your repertoire is limited, and dancers always looking for something else if they are not invited to do guest performances. So that was kind of like the company we created, and we lasted probably several years. And in our case, fundraising was for people who either knew my name and seen me dance, because I still was dancing at the time, and so that they were just like writing checks. But when I hired grant writers, that it's a long process, because they write grant, it's like 2-3 years takes for like get $500 or something. But if you want to start immediately, that's the problem. And it's not that what, for example, I experienced, but in general, that if people want to do something new and continue, where do you go? That's actually, unfortunately, in the United States, that's what I think the problem with art and specifically dance.
Right.
It's kind of like underlined.
It does take a while, and specifically dance, as you say, is the underfunded art form compared to music, theater, and other forms. But it makes it a rather small community, and that's a good thing. So everyone knows each other, I think. Not everyone, but
Yeah.
it's good to have knowledge about, you know, what else is going on, and then I like to go to the Joyce Theater quite often and see work there, and I'm sure you're at the ballet and other ABT and so on, and I think that's a good place to meet people. I think meeting people, it's all about relationships, right?
Yeah, correct.
And so young people, they can develop relationships no matter what their age.
Right.
So I think that's the thing, to build with people, but also to build with your words to describe your work. That's important.
But in the beginning, in your organization, I'm sure you had some, for example, friends and families or whatsoever, that you could talk about your project, right? And
Sure.
so you involve them to be able to raise money, because you need to start something from.
They say fundraising is really friend raising.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
my first fundraiser benefit was at a dance studio, and you know, put out all the emails and tried to do, I think, before social media, and it was only my friends who showed up and a few others, but mostly that's who supports you, right? And so it's natural, and people, they often, when they contribute money, they don't always contribute because of your art. It's often just because they know you and they trust you and they like you, and therefore they want to support you. So I do that also with my friends. I try to help them along in small ways, and it's not always because of their project. It's because of your friendship.
Right, correct. So you have event once a year, correct?
We that would be our annual event, but we do things throughout the year. We have education programs.
Such as?
We have what we call our community engagement programs, and we have 3 of them. One is called the Cultural Residencies, in which we have a curriculum designed by a Juilliard-educated professional dancer and educator, Carly Eckert. And we train dancers basically based on their form, and then send them to schools. We send them to recreational centers too for more aerobic style work, and then to older adult centers. Some people say senior centers. That's a term that's being replaced by older adult centers. And that's called ageless action. So they learn a style of dance for 10 to 20 weeks, and then they bring it to the parade as their final project. So they're like, look at me, Mom and Dad, I'm in the parade. This is what I've learned. And it's quite a full circle of, being able to learn and from the classroom to presentation.
So that addresses, like I would say, non-professional dance world, like you're going into everybody,
Right.
presenting.
Right. And then we rely on organizations to bring in the pre-professional worlds. So we have LaGuardia High School, Ballet Tech is coming this year again. There's even a performing arts school in Eastern New York, which is a faraway Brooklyn area near Canarsie, and it's known as not the most wealthy zip codes out there, and they're coming to support Joan Myers Brown and Philadelphia in the beginning. So we'll be starting the parade with a performance from them, and that's Majorette. Have you heard of Majorette?
No, I've never. No, yeah, I kind of like deal all my life with, very professional world. So
Right.
that this is all new to me. But when I've heard about dance parade, my question was, what dance parade? Like, people walking on the street and slightly dancing. So it was the curiosity, really. The more I've heard that, I wanted to meet you, because I think what you created is quite massive and very success's. I know it's 20 years, but still.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's. So where are you taking from here? What's your next project?
Well, the project on its own is very fulfilling to do work in education and to do the advocacy, and then of course the biggest event. Some people say the biggest dance event in the country, because it's 10,000 dancers, and we have a vision to bring it to other cities. We were recently in Philadelphia and looking to be a part of the America's 250th celebration. But my personal dream is to work with the United Nations and to be able to present lots of forms of dance as cultural diplomacy. So are you familiar with that term, cultural diplomacy? It's the idea that...
Yeah, of course I'm familiar, and it's a good spot to go.
Yeah. So I got familiar because I used to live in Japan, and Nagoya was the city I lived in. That's where there was a table tennis tournament, and they had the players had to go on their buses to the tournament from their hotel. But one American player woke up too late, I guess because of jet lag, and his bus was gone. He couldn't speak the language. There was one bus, and it was a Chinese bus in early 1970s. And he got on the bus, and he created friendships. And that was the beginning of how China opened to the world, because back then, no country had relations with China. And so they started having these ping pong tournaments in the embassies around the world. and that brought them together. So it's the same concept with sports. The Olympics
Right.
brings people together, international dance competitions, and maybe dance parade. Like I would love to see that in Pakistan, in Tel Aviv, in Bolivia, you know, countries where it's not just about commercial and making money, but actually showing people the beauty of art forms and cultures.
Yeah, and unity that we extend a hand and saying we are all united in general. Like we're talking about art, performing art, music, singing, dance. That's there are no borders. There are no political borders. There are no religious borders. Even in my competition, some people coming from, well, we were taking Israel, and then there was people who were born in Pakistan, for example, or Syria.
Right.
So now they are here, but the background, that's where they're coming from. And so I look at those dancers and I'm thinking that's a really unbelievable way to embrace the culture.
Yeah, and I think to connect.
Right,
That's
to connect.
that's an important element because I have a friend at the UN and they were doing music festivals, and they said that the member states, you know, they don't agree. They're negotiating. They're fighting against each other in the United Nations and the world. But music and dance and art, you connect to their hearts, and people don't need that identity of country or passport or, you know, it's together we're enjoying this.
Exactly.
And that's the important thing, yeah.
So to be continued, United Nations, when I had my school, and 54 next to Studio 54, I had for about 20 years. We performed at the United Nations. As a matter of fact, there were like several performances, so I brought my students, young students, to perform. And then I'm not sure how it happened, but I was invited several times at the time. It was early 2000, I guess, to the event, which was connection between U.S. International and New Russia at the time. And the people who organized that, they were Russian Orthodox priests. And so, for example, for me, coming from former Soviet Union where religion was forbidden, right? Although I'm baptized, but I don't have, I never practiced because it was not allowed. So coming to the United Nations, knowing that Russia opened its doors, which is great, because in that case I can go and visit Russia, and it's important to me. And then meeting all those priests, and they were talking exactly what you're just mentioning about through culture and dances. Thank you for bringing students, that we all can be connected, especially Russia and United States. So another episode, I remember it was right before March 2020, before pandemic. Culture ambassador in Russian consulate in New York City, somehow, don't remember exactly how it happened, approached me, and they wanted to do party after my competition VKIBC. For me and for us in a Russian consulate here on 91st Street, I believe, and 5th Avenue. And the question was that like about 70 people and maybe some musicians will come. And my question was like basically why. Of course I was happy, but you know, you always ask questions. And the politicians said that because it brings us together.
You know, that's amazing. I really want to follow up with you and find out how you did that or what happened.
But I didn't do because it was March 2020, and then they called me and they said pandemic, so they closed consulate and embassies. So that unfortunate. So when pandemic was lifted, about 2022, I called a person, and of course, as usually they changed,
Staff changed.
Stuff changed. But then we entered different times.
Right.
And what I would like to do is to reconnect through dance, because I was, I had my place in there in Bolshoi and obviously here, and the only thing that I usually advertise or talk about is that if we don't have a culture exchange, even in classical dance, the West and especially United States suffers because Russia, they're superb in classical dance. On the other hand, Russia doesn't get what US or the West can bring to them.
Right.
So both parties suffers. Can we get in the middle?
Yes, we can. And it's so funny you're saying this, because yesterday I sent an email to the cultural ambassador in the Chinese consulate to suggest that we have a committee of people who put together a series around the consulates. And it's kind of the idea of doing this around the world, but it's just New York City, and it would involve people like yourself and other members of the dance community, along with members in the consulate, to come up with kind of planning and strategies of like what can we share together, so we can do things like fancy footwork, and we could have American tap and Mexican polka and flamenco. That's the footwork thing. And then we could go on and we could do, it could be like ballet or contemporary dance or something in the more concert type of professional, and we could show, who knows, it could be the Chinese ballet and the Peruvian ballet and that type of representative. But I think it would be interesting to have like a theme and a monthly event around New York City. Would you like to work on that with me?
It will be my pleasure, because I really would like to connect all of that. So we just have to go through. I'm really serious, and especially in classical dance. My competition is giving so many scholarships, because the way I invite judges, and they're all big names, and in classical or contemporary dance from the US and other countries, by my personal knowledge or connection with them. So I don't invite just somebody who can come or would like to come.
Right.
And I also open classes free of charge for all competitors, that judges teach those classes, and it's one of the best things that students saying that what did you like the best of the competition.
Right.
And as a result, when we talk about the scores and who is going for whatever medals or not, I push in a nice way, but I push those judges, saying that the deal was between you and me that you are going to give something, and they have no escape from me. Right, Audrey?
Right.
There's no escape. So we give enormous amount of scholarships or trainee, or people get contracts, and some people coming from poor countries. And one of my famous stories as of 2-3 years ago was one Brazilian boy. I've seen him in Sao Paulo. He came for semifinals of my competition, and I give him scholarship to come. And he was very good, and so he came and he danced better than I've seen him in Brazil.
Wow.
And he's got a gold medal, and he's got invitation to dance in professional company contract. And the story was behind that his family didn't have money to transport him to to New York, and the accommodations here. So family was going from house to house to house of friends and relatives to get $5, $10, $15.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Right.
But because of that, I believe that he wanted to show that he really deserved that people believed in him, and he was so incredible, and now he's principal dancer. And I have
Wow.
so many stories coming from my competition when I just push judges, like not arguing, but saying, you know, there will be no next time, huh? You got to give. Think about, we're doing this for young people. You had this, or maybe you work for that very hard. It's
Right.
now our turn
Wow.
and our time.
That's a really interesting
It's like I'm
angle
an
on the whole.
ambassador. Yeah, like
Right.
seriously. So I
You
would
had
love to work with you. That would be,
great.
yeah, let's go to embassy and create something like mutual. I can get classical, perhaps a very interesting contemporary from different also countries. It
Yeah.
would be nice.
I was thinking the title could be Consulate Culture or something like that, or something, because there aren't embassies in New York City. There's
Yeah,
consulates,
yeah.
but there's so much talent here,
Yeah.
and it really this is a way they can make a difference. And you know, all kinds of countries have different. They're known for different things, but what can we do together to do a series, you know, that would be fun and entertaining, but also educational?